reading this morning gives us yet another example in Nathanael, who asks, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" Here too, a disciple fails to hear the voice of God calling him, even though it comes through Philip. Why? Because apparently Nathanael is so preoccupied by what he sees, by what he hears, by what he believes. He is unable to conceive of anything good coming out of a backwater place like Nazareth. It is only when Jesus breaks in, when God finally reaches us, that we can begin to truly hear God. For Nathanael, it is hearing Jesus describing him sitting under a fig tree before they even met. For Samuel, it is trusting in the guidance of Eli. For Eli, it is seeing the faithfulness of Samuel. For the disciples on the way to Emmaus, it is the breaking of bread with a stranger. In each case, it is God's active presence working through our lives and through the people in our lives to connect us with God. Just like a rope which God throws down to us. Or perhaps like a ladder, like Jacob's ladder, which is what verse 51 of our gospel reading is referring to. God is the one who comes down to us in order to give us what we long for: connection. We need only open ourselves and receive the gift that has been freely extended to us. So perhaps we should listen more carefully, especially when times seem dark and the lamp of God appears to be growing dim, because that is when God seems to speak. That is when we are reminded that not so long ago, when our country seemed to be tearing itself apart, a righteous man stood up and said, "I have a dream." And this very week, whether our new president proves to be a good leader or a poor one, that dream comes to fruition. My friends, I know that times are hard, and that we are faced with the very real possibility of drastic changes within our careers and within our families, and even here within our church. But you must know that our old people still see visions, and our young people still dream dreams. Because our God is still active and alive in the world. God is still with us. In his book, Bound and Free, A Theologian's Journey, Douglas John Hall shares a realization he came upon while writing his autobiography. He says, "I owe such happiness as I have to one source, namely the sheer grace of God, as it is mediated through the lives of other people. Not public figures, but ordinary folk, old ladies and gentlemen of my youth, people in the various workplaces of my life, members of my congregation, and of course my students and colleagues of more than 4 decades in academic life. Most of these people did not know they were giving me gifts of insight and support, affirmation and critical acumen, but were simply being who they were and doing what they do." He goes on to say, "Every one of us plays the role of giver, wittingly or unwittingly, in relation to all whom we meet. And if we know this about ourselves, we may be inspired to pay a good deal more attention to the way we are with one another." Brothers and sisters, our scriptures tell us this morning to listen for God's calling, inviting us to be such people. People who help mediate God's grace. People who, like Samuel, awake when we hear our names called and respond with the words, "Speak, Lord, for your servants are listening."